Later, at the wedding feast of Cana, Jesus demonstrated another form of supply through qualification. For 2,000 years, the scriptural account of changing water into wine has seemed to be a somewhat useless piece of information. Now we have vital need of this account in order to better understand how and why the space people qualify substance, and how we can qualify all things by thought, molding them to meet our desire. A thought is a thing. The scriptural story tells how Jesus commanded that the wine jars be filled with water. Then, in a simple silent ceremony, he transmuted the water into electronic substance with a high frequency, ridding it of all impurities or qualifications. When the purified and unqualified water was poured into the wine glasses, the assembled guests naturally thought they were to taste a delicious wine. They had been drinking wine and expected to drink more wine. They fully qualified the water with their thoughts. When they drank the water, they declared it to be the finest wine they had ever tasted. Thoughts are things, and in this case the thing was transmuted water qualified to taste like wine. When Van Tassel was offered tiny cubes of substance by the space people, he was told to qualify the cubes before eating them. He did so and enjoyed a meal of his favorite foods. This bit of white magic was identical with that demonstrated at the wedding feast of Cana. Those demonstrations also lead us to an understanding of the One. The One is actually the universal sum total of unqualified energy. The One is nothing. The instant the energy is qualified, its vibratory action is lowered, and it becomes something. When Jesus raised the vibration of the water in the wine jars, it became no thing. When qualified by the thoughts of the wedding guest, the vibratory action was lowered in conformity, and it became something which tasted like wine. For untold centuries, the masters of the ageless wisdom have tried to explain to retarded humanity that they could secure any desired result in their lives by properly qualifying the electronic energy which flows constantly from the higher self to the four lower bodies. Finally, after 19 million years, people are beginning to grasp the ideal. Since thoughts are things, the time to create something or anything, according to a certain predetermined pattern, is at the time the pure, unqualified electronic substance enters the bloodstream with each heartbeat. Each electron that enters the bloodstream with each heartbeat is necessarily qualified in any event, but usually in an uncontrolled manner. The average individual does not understand the proper method of working with pure God substance, and therefore the electrons, undirected by human thought, are forced to take on whatever qualities the bloodstream carries. If an individual is angry, the bloodstream reflects that fact, and the pure electrons, swirling on their course, are surrounded with murky gray astral matter carrying the vibrations of anger. On the other hand, if a man is in the act of composing a symphony, the electrons leaving the heart enter into a bloodstream that is vibrating at an inspirational level. The shell of astral matter, which collects around the electrons, will, therefore, carry a great deal of light and brilliant color patterns, which reflect the exact intensity of sincerity and love which the individual has for his creative effort. If he is a composer of the caliber of Wagner, the magnetic qualities of the light will attract memories from the subconscious or etheric body, memories of melodies heard in the music temples while the physical body was asleep. The memories will come surging back, consuming all darkness which may impede their path, and magnetically anchor themselves to the atomic structure within the bloodstream which is forming around a common center. As the blood is pumped back to the heart and circulated again, hundreds of fresh, pure electrons of God substance are attracted to the atomic center, which is to produce a great symphony. The atomic structure is vibrating at high speeds. the message is carried by the blood to the entire body. The composer brings the entire focus of his attention to his task. He is filled with the exultant joy, for like the Father, he looks upon his work and finds it good. Thus is a symphony born. Thus is a great poem written. Thus are more humble tasks accomplished in glory, the tending of a home, the tilling of a field, the feeding and loving care of a little child. This is controlled precipitation. It is controlled entirely by the attention of the individual. And in the normal course of events, from day to day, we become that upon which we focus our attention. The majority of people focus their attention upon becoming older, and they look about them at others who have likewise focused their attention upon old age. They find that these individuals have become aged in appearance. They say to themselves, yes, that is normal. One does grow older, that's for sure. They are falling right into that ancient human booby trap of judging by appearances. They therefore precipitate old age. It is wholly unnecessary, because thoughts are things, and the pure electrons, if qualified with thoughts of youth and beauty, when they enter the bloodstream, will produce youth and beauty, as surely as an apple tree produces apples, not grapes. Adepts and masters who work behind the scenes are only among understanding disciples never seem to be more than about 30 years old in appearance, although they may be hundreds or even thousands of years old. But if they are working among ordinary people who observe them each day, they voluntarily take on the appearance of age so as not to attract undue attention and even jealousy. Tesla did not need to grow old in face and form with his ability to apply inner knowledge, but he attracted so much attention by his outstanding genius, and was the focus of so much jealousy, that had he remained youthful, besides, it would simply have been too much for the hostile public to swallow. Tesla was highly prophetic, but he seldom demonstrated his gift, for he was seldom in the presence of an understanding human being. Thus his prophecy that prohibition would shorten his life by 20 years was misinterpreted. Tesla, after World War I, could already foresee the political situations that were in the making. He knew that out of that particular piece of stupidity known as prohibition would develop certain activities of the dark forces that would necessitate his leaving his physical body sooner than originally planned. Thus his prophecy that prohibition would shorten his life by 20 years was misinterpreted. Tesla, after World War I, could already foresee the political situations that were in the making. I already read that. Go down. A little dictatorship leads to more dictatorship. A little government leads to a lot of government. Goodness cannot be legislated into the hearts of men. The withdrawal of the freedom of man to make a choice, even in his brand of whiskey, is bound to have a weakening influence and a bad karmic effect on both parties. In this case, the government and the governed. No master ever achieved mastery over matter by having the matter removed from his reach, especially if the removal was carried out by politicians seeking to satisfy their lust for power over people. Many years ago, a gentleman by the name of C.A. Wragg, W-R-A-G-G, came to New York from Australia. Mr. Wragg was and is associated with aircraft development. Upon arrival, he sought out Tesla for an interview on certain patents designed to improve the speed of aircraft. When Mr. Waggs arrived in Tesla's office, he sat in the reception room waiting for Tesla to finish talking with another visitor. The door into Tesla's office stood open, and his conversation could be heard clearly in both rooms. Tesla was speaking to his visitor about the plane he had designed in 1917 and given to the United States government to assist in World War I. The government officials at that time were merely amused when they looked at the design and promptly buried it in their files.